How's it going, everyone? It is Dark Ops here, bringing you my tier list of every single Zombies map. So we have every Zombies map here from World at War to Operation Deadbolt from Modern Warfare 3. So this is before Black Ops 6 drops. I wanted to make this before it came out because I want to have every map done before Liberty Falls and Terminus release. So once those maps release, we can make a new list. But this will be my up-to-date 2024 tier list, so I will have timestamps for every single game. So World at War, we're starting off with first, and we're just going to go in order from World at War 2, Modern Warfare 3. So if there's any section you want to see, I will have timestamps in the description for you to see which maps go where, so you can see which game we're covering. So without further ado, this video is going to be a long one. Grab your popcorn. I'm not going to be skipping any maps, so we're going to be doing every single map here. So let's get started. So first, we're starting with World at War, and we're starting with Nocturne Tobin. And this map has aged fine, I guess. It's not a terrible map. I've actually enjoyed playing the Black Ops 3 version, but in general, I never go back to play this map all that often. But at the same time, it's not a bad map, you know what I mean? It's a pretty average map. I think C tier is where it belongs because it's just average. Sure, it started zombies, but at the end of the day, I don't play this map much. And specifically because it's the first map ever, it didn't have a lot going on. So it's a pretty average map. I think it's C tier. It's not terrible like D or F, but it's not good. So I think a C tier is probably best for this. Noct isn't a bad map. I have a lot of memories on that map, but it's certainly not a good or even a great map, especially when Doris is in the same game. So yeah, it's a pretty okay map. And Varrock, on the other hand, I actually think is a good map. This map is pretty slept on. Varrock gets a lot of heat, but I think it's a solid map. I think it's a solid step up from Noct. It's a lot of a challenge. And really, I just like the fact that it's creepy, because Noct is also creepy, but Varrock is like shit your pants creepy. You know what I mean? This is a creepy map. Now, there's not too much to say again, because again, these are basic maps, but it introduced perks and introduced traps, just a lot of little basic things here and there to make it an innovative experience. But I just have a lot of fun playing this map, either with friends or solo, seeing how high I can go, because this map is really difficult too. This is probably the most difficult map in the early maps of Black Ops and World at War. So it's a solid map. I think it's a solid B. The remasters help it a lot, but I think in general it's probably B tier map. It doesn't go any higher than that. But Varrock is a solid map and definitely gets a lot of hate for no reason. So B tier is where it goes. Shinonuma, on the other hand, I have no problem putting in D tier. I never play this map unless it's in Vanguard. I'm being dead serious. I think the Vanguard version is better because this version is just really broken. The World at War version is broken. The Black Ops 1 version isn't broken, but it's still boring. It's even more boring than Noct, because at least Noct is creepy and you have an area to hold out. This map is just train around to round into the thousands because it's so broken. And the Wonder Wap is fun, but at the end of the day, it's not a fun experience, okay? Shinonuma is not a good map. No matter what people tell you, it is not a good map. It introduced Hellhounds, it introduced the Wonderwaffe, but other than that, it's just a really boring map, and I couldn't be bothered to play it just because it's all that bad. The Vanguard version does it much better by actually having more room to play with, and of course having the Pack-a-Punch and other things like that. But the basic Shinonuma version is a bad map. It's not awful, but it's not good. It's not even average. It's below average. It's terrible. It's D tier. You know what it's all about. It's just a bad map. Doris, on the other hand, is a great map. This map has aged gracefully. I love playing this map. The PPSH Pack-a-Punch on the catwalk is a great time every time. I don't know if it's S tier, but it's certainly an A tier map. Doris is a great classic. I think its biggest things are the Bowie knife Pack-a-Punch, the monkey bombs. A lot of innovative things here that make it a fantastic experience, and I would play it any day of the week. It is the best World at War map by far, and honestly, I think it's the best version in World at War, because the Black Ops 1 version doesn't have the same weapons, and the Black Ops 3 version is almost completely different story-wise and just gameplay-wise. It's very different. So Doris in World at War is a great map, and I love playing it. I have hundreds of hours on this map alone. It is a fantastic experience, and yeah, it's just a great map. What else can I say? I love Doris, and I'm on
I'm
Doris
on the
actually.
Reese.
So yeah, that's
I'm
so I have to say with Doris because it is a great map. So unfortunately, this is where he gets a hot take, because now that we're entering Black Ops 1, we have to talk about Kino. And most people, not saying all of you, not seeing you people watching this video, but most people would say it's an A tier or B tier. Nah, this shit's trash, dude. Okay, look, listen. Okay, Kino is Doris, but worse. Okay, the layout is worse. The whole aesthetic of a theater had a cool idea initially, but it's just so small for a map that it really doesn't do anything with its actual setting other than being so piss easy to play. It did creep me out when I was a kid, obviously, when we were all kids playing this map, it was creepy, but it's just way too easy. It's an exact copy of Doris, but even worse. And the Wonder Weapon is great, of course. The Thunder Gun is a great Wonder Weapon, I'll give it that. But fun fact, it actually stole it from 5. 5 was supposed to have it and not Kino because Kino was supposed to be DLC for World at War. So, with that in mind, I think this map is just awful. I would never play this map ever again. It is way too easy. The Nova Crawlers are trash. The layout, I think, is worse than the Reese. It does everything the Reese does, but worse. I would play the Reese over this map any day. This map is terrible, awful, garbage. And yeah, no, Kino is bad. It is terrible, terrible, terrible. Maybe I'll change my mind when we get to other maps in the list here. You know, if we get to these other maps, we'll talk about later. But Kino is a trash, awful map, and honestly, I think it is the most boring zombies map you can play in Black Ops 1. Besides, yeah, no, it actually is the most boring zombies map. I can't think of another map that's not as boring. So yeah, Kino is terrible, trash, F tier. And it would be better off not being in any of the games. Honestly, it's just that bad. Now that we're done with that, we can talk about 5, which 5 is a same thing as Varrock, where it's a good map, it's not great. The best things about this map are the interesting boss, you know, the Pentagon Thief, who is never returned, not even in Classified, but he is a great boss. The rewards he gives you are great. The fact that it's such a small layout, but they still make it work for a zombies map, I think is interesting. Though I would have preferred if they used more newer assets instead of just copying it from the campaign. But regardless, it's still a great experience, I think. It's a good experience. I don't know if it's in A tier, but 5 is underrated. The Wonder Weapon is pretty bad, I will admit. But it's not the worst in the world. It's definitely not the worst Wonder Weapon ever. I think we all know what that is. But it is certainly a interesting map. I think I have more fun playing with this than Varrock, so maybe I'll slide it up a notch. I think it's more fun. It has all of the modern commodities, so you have perks, you have Pack-a-Punch, you have all the things that make a modern zombies map great. So I think it's a solid, solid map. Very underrated, I feel, especially when it was paired with Kino. So most people gravitated towards this because it's more easy. But 5 is a real challenging experience, and I think it's more unique in that way, in that it's so much harder and also has a really fun boss to play with. So, a solid B tier. I really like 5. It's very underrated, in my opinion, of course. Ascension is average. I thought I forgot about the boring maps, but no, Ascension is just not good. Maybe it's a C tier. I don't even know if I could put it in B. I think it's a really bad map. Yeah, Ascension's not good. Look, it has the first Easter egg. It introduced new perks. Actually, it did introduce stamina up and PhD, so maybe I'll put it in C for now. Maybe I'll put it lower. Really, what I don't like about this map are the monkeys. They are very annoying. They are not fun. They're just really, really tedious and annoying to deal with. And the fact that it has nothing else going for it. It has the Thunder Gun again, and it has that's pretty much it. It has a couple innovations here and there. Again, the first new Easter egg for zombies, so it gets that credit. But at the end of the day, I just don't like playing this map. It's very, very limited in terms of what it can do. Obviously, Noct is also limited, but it's more challenging. Ascension is considered one of the easiest maps of all time, and for a reason. You know, it is just way too easy. And there's not much else I can say about this map. It's just really, really average. Maybe below average, but we'll see when we get later on in the list. Ascension is just not a solid map. It's okay at best. At best, I'll put it in C tier. Maybe I'll put it lower later on. But it is a bad map. It is not good. It's okay. It's just barely okay. Ascension's just not great. Call of the Dead is an easy A. This is the best map in Black Ops 1 in my opinion, besides, you know, Moon, but that's the Chronicles version topic, but Call of the Dead is a goated map. It's arguably an S tier map, but I don't know if I want to put it all the way up there. I think I'll put it above the Reese. Call of the Dead has everything that makes a great zombies map. A unique boss, a great map layout, arguably one of the best layouts in zombies, though admittedly can be improved, and the overall aesthetic of the map is great. Everything about Call of the Dead, I love it. It is just a phenomenal map. George Romero, rest in peace. He was a solid boss. He is very annoying to deal with on this map, but he gives you an equal reward. So I think he is a fun enough boss. The Easter egg is good. Everything about this map is great. Like 8, 9, 10 out of 10. Just a great map, and maybe an S tier. At the top of A, I'll maybe put it in S at some point. Again, a lot of this is probably bound to change, but I think I'll put Call of the Dead in A tier for now. Maybe I'll change my mind later, but this is where I'm going to put it for the sake of the video. Shangri-La is bad. This is worse than Kino. Let me change this real quick. Kino is better than this trash. Shangri-La is one of the worst maps in Zombies, and you can't change my mind. The map layout is awful. The Wonder Weapon, everyone thinks it's one of the best Wonder Weapons, but more often than not, it gets me killed because the zombies can still damage you while they're babies. And if you shoot one of the fire zombies or the napalm zombies or the shrieker zombies, they will kill you while they are, shrinking because it doesn't actually damage them. Not a great wonder weapon to start out with. And again, the layout is really, really bad. The Easter egg isn't very fun. Admittedly, it is fun with 4 people, and that's pretty much all the good things I have to say about it. But Shangri-La has nothing going for it other than looking pretty. It looks really good in BO3. But that's it. This map is terrible. I hate this map with a passion. It's so boring on solo. The Wonder Weapon isn't fun. Just nothing about this map stuck out to me. And I know some people love this map, some people think it's an A tier, but to me, I think it's one of the worst maps. This map is just so, so, so boring. And honestly, I haven't played it since Chronicles dropped, like 6, 7 years ago at this point. So I haven't played this map in close to a decade, and rightfully so. This map is not good. Moon, I'm gonna get heat for because a lot of people don't like Moon. But if we're including BO3, because I don't see the Chronicles maps on here, I think we're gonna put Moon in A, including the Chronicles version, because it gets such a light upgrade, or it gets such a big upgrade, but it gets such a light up as well. The aesthetic of the map is beautiful, and yeah, the astronaut can be annoying. Admittedly, he is a pretty annoying boss to deal with, but I think he can be dealt with, honestly. I trained in the biodome. The Easter egg is one of the best in zombies, hands down. It has one of the best atmospheres, ironically enough. And just so many things about this map that I just really enjoy. Maybe it's an S tier map. Moon is just so much fun, man. The anti-gravity makes sense because you're on the
You're on the moon.
but it is just such a underrated map. I think it's really, really good. BO3 did it a lot of justice by introducing Gobblegum and other things onto it, and of course making the map look 10 times better on BO3. So this is just the Chronicles version, and every single version as a whole I think is an S tier. Just a great, great map. Maybe it's the best map in BO1. I don't know if it's better than Call of the Dead though. Is it S tier? I don't know. Is it really like that good? The Wonder Weapon is really, really good. The Wave Gun is super fun. So I think I could put Moon in S tier for now. Maybe I'll change my mind about that, but Moon is my favorite map in BO1, right up there with Call of the Dead. These two are really interchangeable, so I could change this and be fine with it. But Moon is just so much fun, man. I absolutely love playing this map. Although it does have its annoyances that drag it down a bit, and I'm wondering if they drag it down enough for me to put it in A tier, but I don't know. I think I'll put it at the top of A for now. Maybe I'll change my mind later. The moon is like tippity top of A for me. Really, really love this map. There's nothing about this map that I dislike, aside from a few minor annoyances that pile up and drag it down from S tier, such as the Nova crawlers being on here for no reason, and of course the excavators are really annoying. Just little annoyances here and there bring it from S tier, but it's still a phenomenal map. So yeah, Moon is underrated, and please play this map. Moon is underrated. So next we have Transit. This is to be expected. Transit is a you know do I have anything else to say on Transit than what's already been said? This map is bottom of the barrel garbage. So we'll leave Transit down there for now, I guess. There's really no reason to talk about this map other than it's shit. So Transit goes in F tier, and I don't think anyone's gonna argue with me otherwise. So Transit can go all the way down there. And we're doing all the maps separately, so Bus Depot can also go down here. Farm can go down here. And town can go here because it's sort of nostalgic. It has some fun to it. The BO3 remaster is really, really good. I encourage you, if you have BO3 on PC, to play Town Remastered because it actually is a really solid remaster. But the regular version we have is just bad. But it's not a good, great, or anything. It's just bad. So I think I'm comfortable with this. I'll just put Transition at the bottom because that's what it deserves. But yeah, these maps are just bad. Nuketown is okay. It's kind of like 5. I want to put it like next to 5 in Varrock, but when you consider that it's just Nuketown, but even smaller, yeah, it's smaller, but it's still a zombies map, and you have to wait for Jug until round 20. It just doesn't hold up. I think it's top of C. It's an okay map, but it certainly wasn't a great map to launch WW2 Zombies. But it's underrated, I think. It's not the worst map ever, and Alpha Omega certainly does it justice, but it is not a great map. Die Rise is also bottom of the barrel. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's like transit bad, but it is certainly not good. So I think it can go above these maps, but it's certainly not a good map at all. It's bottom of D tier. There's nothing about this map that doesn't have a shit side to it. We have a new perk, but it's one of the worst perks in zombies. We have trample steams, but you'll literally fall off the map no matter what. And PhD is on the map, but it's a troll. You can't even get it. So nothing good about this map besides the wonder weapon, of course, the Slickle which actually got nerfed. So yeah, Die Rise is bottom of D tier. It's just bad. Now, thankfully, I can start being positive because we have Mob of the Dead, easy S tier, best BO2 map without question. The aesthetic is great, the characters are great, the wonder weapon's great. There's nothing bad about this map aside from the shitty Easter egg, but disregarding the Easter egg for a moment, this map is just so much fun. I love Mob of the Dead to this day. It is one of my favorite all-time maps. The aesthetic is just creepy. The zombies are terrifying. Brutus is a great boss. He's such a really good addition to the map. The lore behind the map is really good as well. Afterlife is so unique. Electric Cherry is a solid perk. Like, I'm just repeating things you would find in any other video, right? But Mounted Dead holds a special place in my heart because this was one of the first maps I played as a kid. This map is just so, so good. There's nothing bad about this map that sticks out to me aside from the Easter egg, but even the Easter egg included, I still think it's an S tier. This map is wonderful, and it's easily the best BO2 has to offer. Buried, on the other hand, is not. Maybe it's great because a lot of people seem to think, a lot of people have the impression that Mob of the Dead is outshadowing Buried and that Buried is actually better. But Buried is top of B, okay? And let me explain why, right? So, Buried is a very unique map. It is one of the most unique maps in Zombies. It has a really good perk, Vulture Aid, one of my favorite perks in Zombies. And the layout's actually really, really good. And of course, Leroy is a unique thing as well. A lot of unique things with this map. But it suffers from a couple flaws that I'll talk about real quick. The first being the time bomb. I'm not going to pretend that this isn't a problem. The time bomb is a huge problem. The fact that they created something that can reset your entire game with no balance check is insane. Like, how did they approve that? When you're playing with more than one person and someone gets a time bomb, there's nothing to stop them from restarting your entire game. And it's out of your control. That is insane. The time bomb is completely busted and needs to be reworked or removed entirely because of how it broke Buried. Like, playing online with the time bomb is completely, it actually breaks your game. It is completely broken. And that describes a lot of this map as well, is the fact that a lot of things are broken. The Paralyzer is a great wonder weapon, of course, but it can be taken to actually infinity. And of course, the traps can take you to infinity. A lot of the things here can literally just take you to whatever round you want. So Buried is a very unique map. It's almost a great map. It wants to be a great map, and I want to give it that great map. But of course, the Easter egg isn't good either. The characters aren't great. I mean, they're not terrible, but they're not great either. They're on the cusp of great. Just a lot of these things add up, but it is a very unique map, and I think it's one of the best in BO2. So I want to put it in A, but I just can't, okay? It just has too many problems dragging it down from what could have been an A tier or possibly an S tier map because the aesthetic is really cool. I like the Western aesthetic. I just wish they went a little bit harder with it. And if we got the remake from the BO4 Zombie Chronicles 2, it could have been an A tier. But as is, I think I'm going to put it at the top of B. It is a really good map. It's just not great. It needs some balancing, and the bank, of course, is broken. So just a lot of broken things here break the map. It suffers a lot of what Shinonuma did, where the map is just not balanced and makes it way too easy. So disregarding those, though, it is a solid map and easy B tier, top of B, possibly A, but I'll change it later if I feel like it's necessary. So that's where Buried goes, top of B tier. Origins, very strong map. Solid A tier. I think it's right about here in terms of my actual favorites. I think it's below Call of Dead and Moon. But Origins is, of course, a very strong map to end BO2 Zombies. It took us into BO3 really, really well. It introduced the four wonder weapon system. It introduced the new style of parts that we get. Well, actually, Mob of the Dead did, but Origins carried it on forward. It introduced our new premise cast. It pretty much brought the story to a new height by rebooting it, sort of. It is a really good map. It's a great map and most people's favorites from BO2, and I can't blame them. A lot of this map is really, really good. The layout is great, albeit the tank is pretty bad. The layout in between sections and generators is kind of shit because you need stamina to run across anywhere, and the tank isn't very good. So Origins is a solid A tier map. I'm not sure if it's S tier because I think it has some things that drag it down for me. The Panzer is a great boss here. He isn't as good in Der Eisendrache, but I think he is good here. So maybe I'll put it at the top of A because Origins is a solid, solid map. And it does a lot of things right. The wonder weapons, like I said, are really, really fun. The layout is good for the most part, albeit the tank is pretty bad. And the Easter egg, of course, is really good. The ending isn't crazy, but you know, it is what it is. So just a lot of great things about this map. Origins is a great map. I think Mob of the Dead is my favorite from that game. But I understand completely if you think this is the best map in BO2, because it's also really, really good. So that wraps up BO2. I think Mob of the Dead is the best, and Origins is second, followed by Buried. So that's pretty much the entire list for BO2. Now we're going into the non-Treyarch ones, and I just have to stay out front that I have not played Point of Contact or any of these maps for that matter. So we're just going to skip through that because I haven't played it, and it wouldn't be fair if I didn't rank them. So we're just gonna go through there, go to Exo Zombies because that's one I actually did play. So Exo Zombies, this is gonna be mean. This is gonna be so mean, but this is Outbreak's not good. Outbreak's not good at all. I would generally rather play any of these maps than Outbreak. Exo Zombies is not good at all, guys. Putting exo suits in zombies is not a good idea. And the zombie types are beyond annoying. Do you think the ones in BO4 are annoying? These things are beyond annoying. They will disable your suit. They will literally turn you into you will die just playing this mode. Yeah, there's nothing I can say about this that hasn't been said already. Outbreak and all the Exo Zombie maps aren't very good, but I'll just put this one in D tier, the top of D tier, because that's fair, I think. There's nothing special about this map, and especially not the next map that we're going to be talking about, Infection. This map is fucking. This is the worst map in Zombies history. It has the worst enemy types, it has the worst layout, it has the worst special rounds. There's nothing good about Infection. It is the worst Zombies map, it is the worst Exo map, it is the worst third side mode ever made. Infection is a terrible, terrible map. And the fact you had to pay $15 to experience this trash is a travesty. Fuck Infection. It is the worst map. I'm not talking more about this map. Awful, awful, awful. Exo Zombies is terrible and Infection is awful. So yeah, go straight into F2. I hate this map with a passion. Now, with that rant aside, Carrier isn't a terrible map. I think it's pretty average, all things considered. Probably better than Ascension, but worse than everything else. Carrier's a decent map. The Wonder Weapon is fairly fun. The layout's pretty good. But again, Exos, I just don't fuck with. I don't fuck with the whole Exo vibe at all. That's what you're going to see with a lot of these Exo maps. Is just, I don't like the vibe. I don't like using the suits and zombies. I don't think it's really, really fun. Some people do, and if you do, more power to you. But to me, I just don't like using exosuits and zombies. So it's going to go right in the middle. It's an average map, all things considered. Now, Descent, on the other hand, is a pretty bad map, honestly. It's a pretty bad finale when you consider the Easter egg ending. I haven't been talking about the Easter eggs because I haven't really cared for them. But the ones that I have done, which is all of them, the Descent DLC is the worst Easter egg of the four, in my opinion. The ending isn't great. The boss isn't very fun. The layout's kind of lame. Just really the funny thing is, it feels all watered down. Descent feels like a watered down experience, despite being an underwater map. It just feels really watered down from anything we've seen. I would rather play Outbreak. I'd rather play Carrier. I certainly wouldn't rather play Infection, but Descent is just a watered down experience of zombies. Everything just feels really lazy and boring. Descent's just not a good map. It's just average. Not even average, below average. There's nothing special about it. So Descent can go all the way down here. It's just not good, but it's obviously not awful. It's just really below average. Just it feels like they didn't have effort here, which is sad to say because the blunderbuss is kind of fun to use, but it is not good. It's not even a main wonder weapon either. The trident is, and the trident's not even good. So Descent's just a below average experience. And thankfully we're done with Exo Zombies because Exo Zombies is fucking terrible. Getting into BO3, we have Shadows of Evil, our second S tier map. Shadows is one of the best maps ever created. The vibe is great. Everything about this map is good. The only thing that I don't like about it is the fact that you need 4 people to do the Easter egg. I don't know why Blundell made that decision, but whatever. Shadows of Evil is still S tier. Everything about it is phenomenal. The Wonder Weapon is one of the best in Zombies. The Apothecary Servant, really fun to do. A lot of side quests as well. There's so many side quests in this map. I absolutely adore it. The fact that there's so many little things you can do just to improve your experience. A free Gobblegum Easter egg. The whole vibe of Shadows of Evil, the city is really, really good. A lot of the things I love about this map, and not a whole lot of bad. It's very similar to Mob. I think it's even better than Mob in most respects. In the layout and the characters are a tad better in my opinion. So Shadows of Evil is an S tier experience. I really, really love it, and it's the probably the best map in BO3. So that's kind of spoiling the entire list, but here we have Shadows of Evil as one of my favorite maps of all time. Absolutely love the aesthetic, just nothing too bad about it besides the little Easter egg thing I talked about earlier. Needing 4 people to do it was really annoying, but other than that, it is a S tier experience. Love Shadows, and I would love it even more if it didn't have that little problem. So next we have their Eisendrag, and this is going to get me some heat because I think I would rather play Call of the Dead. So Der Eisendrache is a solid map. I don't think it's the best in BO3. I think a lot of it just comes down to the fact that it varies similar to Origins in my opinion. And the bows are really fun, but I would rather use the Apothecary Servant. I would rather use the Blundergat. And the Easter egg, I think, should have been more dragon-based. I feel like a lot of the Easter egg and the entire map in general just didn't use the setting very well. It feels like they put a facility in a castle, which is the whole point, of course, but I would have much preferred if there were knights and stuff like that in an actual map. That would have been really cool, but don't let me degrade the map from the fact that it is an easy A tier. The layout is really strong, one of the strongest layouts in Zombies, and that fact alone, I might actually put it up a little bit because the layout is really, really good. But I think that it just could have used a little more to push it into that S tier territory. Now, that's not to say it's bad. Like I said, it's a great map, but I think it just doesn't have that, that like really 10 out of 10 territory here. The Easter egg is really strong, and the actual bows are also really good. So, a lot of good things here. But I think maybe, I don't know, new box weapons, knights, like I said, more of the knight aesthetic, I think would have really benefited this for sure. So, I think it is just on the cusp of S tier, but it's missing a lot of things that could have made it a S tier map. So that's why I'm going to put it in A tier, but it is not bad at all. It is a really good map. It's just missing some things I think could have pushed it into the S tier territory. So their Eisendrache is an A tier, solid map, but it's just missing some things that could have made it much better. So we'll just put it there, not too much to talk about. Zetsubo no Shima. This is a controversial map. It is a really good map, but unfortunately it suffers a lot of flaws that pushes it from great or S tier. For one, the Thrashers are just way too annoying. There's no reason they should one-shot you with Juggernog. There's no reason they should be so powerful when the weapon weapon isn't as good as it could be. And what I mean by this is the KT4 is a very reliable wonder weapon, but it never seems to consistently really kill. At least in my experience, it doesn't consistently get kills like other wonder weapons can. Like the Thunder Gun, or even the bows from their Eisendrache consistently kill. But with the KT4, you kind of just have to hope that it works. Now it is multi-purpose, so I can appreciate it. It does have multiple uses, and it makes the Wonder Weapon more unique because you use it for different things. And overall, it is a really solid map. I really want to love it. Okay, I want to love it. I do, but the doors are also really expensive. The layout of the map isn't fantastic. It's not a terrible layout. It's actually a solid layout, but it's not the best it could have been. I think it is a bit worse in the layout department. And also the fact that the Easter egg is pretty much just setting up. Whether that's a good or bad thing, that is entirely up to you if you think it's a good or bad thing. But personally, I would have liked to see just a different design decisions here because it feels like Zetsubo the opposite of Der Eisendrache in both good and bad ways. It is more difficult, so it's not as easy as Der Eisendrache. It is much darker and leads into its theme of the island much more than Der Eisendrache does with the castle theme. So I can give Zetsubo a lot of praise. But it also has many annoyances. The trials can sometimes be good, or they can sometimes be really, really annoying. The spiders are actually ridiculous. Sometimes they can stop you from moving entirely and get you killed, and other times they just flat out will not spawn if you're trying to do certain steps of the Easter egg. So Zetsubo is a really good map, but it's not great. It's not as it's really almost A tier. It's like buried. It really wants to be an A tier, but the annoyances drag it down for me, and I wish it could have just, be designed differently, have a different design approach, because it feels like it's just trying to be hard for the sake of being hard instead of being difficult, but also really fun. So I think Zetsubo is the top of B, maybe A tier, but I think I can put it in B pretty much definitively. It is a really strong map with a lot of strong flaws equally. So, with that said, let's talk about Gorod. Now, as many of you know, I do not like this map. I do not like this map at all. And for many reasons. For one, I don't like the layout at all. It is very, very annoying to traverse. It's very annoying to play through, especially with the dragon constantly blowing fire on you. That's really unnecessary. I feel like after you complete the actual Pack-a-Punch, you should just go away. Or at the very least, be less common, but he's constantly blinging fire on you. It gives me transit in town vibes from how many times I see fire zombies. The Valkyries are completely busted. Sometimes they just will out die. They will keep spawning zombies at you. The Valkyries can now enter inside buildings as well, so they will cover your pathways and make it just so much more annoying to play through. The Reagan Mark III is really fun, but it doesn't deal enough damage. Sometimes it just flat out will not kill in the higher rounds. And just a lot of little things like that drag it down for me. But the biggest sins of all are the fact that the Easter egg is hot ass. What are these steps? Who made the steps for this Easter egg? Seriously, collecting trophies that you could have already had collected, or give them to you based on what you do. Like if you complete Pack-a-Punch, give you one of the trophies. But no, you have to go on a whole side quest to get these damn trophies. You have to go on escort missions, and the escort missions, guess what? They will hurt you. The escorts can damage you. That is ridiculous. The actual Mangler and I believe the Valkyrie, I haven't done the Easter egg in so long because it was broken for 4 years. The Easter egg is just not good and very, very annoying. I do like the weapons in the box, though. I will give it that. It does bring a lot of old weapons back, and I can appreciate it. But I don't. There's so many annoyances with this map that make me so angry. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that are good about this map, too, that I just have to put it in C tier. It's average. It's not a terribly great map, but it's not terribly garbage. But the Easter egg suffers tremendously. There's still a lot of things broken with this map. Just a lot of things that annoy me, really. It's just a lot of things that are tedious and annoying, but nothing that brings it back for me. It's just, it takes me out, and honestly, I don't want to go back in. So, Gorod Grovey makes me really mad, but it's not a bad map or garbage. It's average. It's just about average, maybe above average. So, yeah, Gorod Grovey is not a good map, and I don't care what people say. I do not like it. Revelations is kind of in the same boat in the sense that it has a lot of little things here and there. The Easter egg isn't good. I think I'll put it at the opposite side. We have Gorod at the bottom of C. We have Revelations at the top of C. Revelations is a very easy map, which is good and bad for multiple reasons. The skybox and the actual design of this map is wonderful. The actual map layout is really damn good. I might put it in B tier actually. I really like playing this map from time to time, but it does suffer from being very, very basic. It doesn't do anything too special. Really, it doesn't do anything unique, and that's the problem that doesn't get it into A tier. And might drag it back down here actually. I'm like thinking between a C and a B tier because it drags a lot when it doesn't do too much different. It's really just another filler map. The Easter egg isn't great, and the boss variety is just from other maps. It doesn't have anything unique to itself. And that's its biggest problem is identity crisis. It really doesn't do anything unique to itself, which is a bad thing, obviously, because it's not unique. It doesn't identify as its own thing. And we'll talk about that when we get to the remakes of Black Ops 4. But here we have Revelations as the climax of BO3. It's a letdown for sure. It's just too easy. It doesn't have any originality. and the layout is actually really good, and I do like playing it from time to time. It's a very fun survival map, I think, but it has the ultimate zombies map, literally coming after Shadows of Evil under Eisendrach and Tetsubo. It's just not, it really lets down a lot of what I was expecting for the map. So, top of C tier, it's not a terrible map. It actually is almost a good map, but it just does too much. It doesn't do too much, it does too little to really put it anywhere else. So, I think it's C tier, and that's how we're going to end off BO3. So, heading into Infinite Warfare, we have Zombies in Spaceland. This is a very, very good map. This is the best map of the game, and for good reason. It does so much right. It's such a great aesthetic for a zombies map. I'm so surprised that we haven't gone one of these in Treyarch Zombies. It's such a unique and good idea. They go all out with it. They have tickets, they have collectibles, they have so many things that are unique to this map. And that's what I think it's like a better buried because it's just such a unique aesthetic and such a good idea, such well designed, such a great, so many good things about this map, man. I just love playing this map. This map is just pure fun, and that's what makes this map so good for me, is that just playing it is just a fun time. It does everything right, basically, aside from the Easter egg being a bit of an annoyance and the wonder weapons not being all that crazy. It is a really unique zombies experience, and the aesthetic is one of my personal favorites because the zombies theme park is such a unique idea. I love it. It's such a great idea. I just can't believe Treyarch hasn't done one of these because this would be so well in other Treyarch games. But in Infinite Warfare, it still feels really, really good. And the wall weapons, the weapons of the game feel great. Just a great all-around experience. The ability to remove perks if you don't want them is such a good idea. The 5 perk limit and so many other things make this an A tier map. I absolutely adore this map. And just a few things here and there could boost it into S. Unfortunately, it is stuck in Infinite Warfare, so you have to play through that game if you want to play this. So whether you want to play that game or not, it's up to you, but I personally don't think it's worth it. Zombies in Spaceland is a great, great map, and I absolutely adore playing Spaceland because it's really, really fun. So best map of that game, not even close. Raven and Redwoods is probably like C tier, maybe B. I don't really play this map a whole lot, so I don't have a whole lot to say on it. The aesthetic I don't care for. I've never been to a rave actually, so I wouldn't know too much about actual Raven or Redwoods. But it's just whatever. The Wonder Weapon is fine. It's not really all that cool. It doesn't do a whole lot for me. It's an okay map. It's okay. It's not crazy, but it's not, bad. It's literally the definition of C tier. It's average, it doesn't do a whole lot, but it's not terrible and doesn't really hurt anybody. It's just an average experience. If you guys like this map, please leave me a comment why, because I personally just can't find the interest to play this map because it's just so meh. It's just meh. Nothing really stands out for me in this map, so C tier is where it goes. Boy, do I have much to say on this. No, I do not. This can go at the top of F tier. The layout is trash. The zombie types are trash. The wonder weapon isn't great. It is fun. I will say it does have some fun things. The karate stuff is kind of cool, but the layout is bad. The boss is terrible. The amount of bugs and just game-breaking things I've run into in this map is crazy. Still buggy to this day. I still can't play it without either some sort of issue in the game itself. This is one of the worst maps ever, and for good reason. It's just not fun to play through. It has a ton of issues, both technically and in the map itself. So I think I could put it maybe in F tier. I think I can confidently put it down here. It's just not fun. And honestly, I think if it wasn't in this game, I think Infinite Warfare would have been a lot better in zombies department. But it exists, so we have to put it at the top of F tier. So it is almost just like a bad map, but it's awful. Honestly, I just can't bring myself to play it. The aesthetic is such a good idea. It's the opposite of Spaceland. It's such a great idea, but this is executed well. This is not. Shell and Shovel is not good, and I encourage anyone not to play it. It's just not a bad map. It's pretty awful. Attack of the Radioactive thing, I really wanted to play more, but from what I did play, I think I'll put it like right in the middle. It's not great, it's not bad, it's right in the middle. It's next to Raven or Redwoods, kind of. I haven't done the Easter egg yet, so I can't comment on it, and I haven't done a whole lot on the map, so it's just gonna have to go right in the middle. But from what I have played, I like the aesthetic. I like a lot of the aesthetics of these actual maps, but this executes it far better than Shaolin did. And almost as well as Zombies in Spaceland, but Spaceland does obviously the best in my opinion. So it goes right in the middle. It's not bad, it's not terrible, it's right in the middle. So that's pretty much where it goes. And Beast from Beyond can sit right next to Shadow and Shuffle as a terrible map. It brings back those little shits from the Extinction mode. I have actually played some Extinction, but not enough to put it on the actual list. But from what I have played, the fact that they decided to bring those little shits back is crazy. The map design's not great. The Easter egg's terrible. Just, you already know. I don't want to repeat the same things because I don't want to be repetitive. But you already know what's bad about this map. Just nothing good here. It's just a disappointment in my opinion because the actual experience started off really strong and it slowly made its way down into some of the worst maps in Zombies, hands down. So Beast from Beyond is beyond F tier. So that's where it can go. Yes, the Final Reich is a solid map. It is really good. Really, I like the aesthetic. I like playing through it. It is a strong start out to Zombies in World War II that unfortunately is never replicated again because they just refuse to listen, really. This is a great starter experience that they could have kicked off with, but chose really not to, really. It starts off with the Final Reich, and it has two Easter eggs you can complete hardcore or normal that can reward you with a bonus map. So many good things here. And then in the future, they just don't innovate anymore. This is such a great experience to start out with. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to put it at A tier. It's a solid map. I love playing this map a lot, and I have a ton of hours just on the Final Reich alone because it's a great experience. And it's just unfortunate that its future maps couldn't keep up with how good it was. So I'm putting it at the top of eight, not the top of A tier, but in A tier because it's really strong. It's a really strong map. And I hope people who haven't played World War II Zombies give this map a try because this is the best map in World War II Zombies without question. So yeah, top of A tier or in A tier, not top of A tier, but it is in A tier. Going into the Darkest Shore, this map is just not very good. This map is terrible. Honestly, it's just really boring. It does nothing for me. It's a really below average experience. I think it doesn't really do much to relieve any of the World War II problems that I had at launch with the Final Reich, which was already an A tier experience. So I thought this could go better, but it just really doesn't. It has that creep factor initially, but ultimately just doesn't. It fails to really bring in anything that could have made it a better map, or even make it a good map, because the Wonder Weapon isn't good, like at all, and the map layout is really not it. Okay, it does some things right, I guess. The aesthetic is kind of cool. I like the creepiness factor. The Easter egg is abhorrent, but there's nothing going for it that makes it better than the Final Reich. It's just such a downgrade in my opinion when I played the DLC for the first time. I was so disappointed, and rightfully so. This is not a good map. D tier, it's a mid. It's worse than trash actually because it's just such a letdown from the Final Reich that I just have to put it here. So yeah, Darkest Shore can go in D tier. It's just not good. It was such a letdown in my opinion. The Shadow Throne can follow it because I don't have too much to say on this. I stopped playing a lot of the maps after the Darkest Shore came out, so take these with a grain of salt. But I'm gonna put this, and where is it? The Frozen Dawn all together because not only have I not played them a whole lot to make a wise judgment on them, but the fact that they're just all equally pretty shit from my experience, especially the final Dawn is just so eh. The Tortured Path is meh. The Shadow Throne is just meh. They're such downgrades from what the Final Reich brought in with the map layout and the great Easter egg and the actual great weapon variety. All these maps just go like mid, below mid. They just keep getting worse in my opinion. Nothing brings it back. Nothing for one of these maps brings it back for me. And that's why they're all going like one after the other is because I can't say anything good about them. And I can only say bad things. And I don't want to be too overly negative. So that's why I'm gonna just say they're all bunched together here as such downgrades to the Final Reich and Grossman House. So it's gonna go pretty much all together here as just the biggest letdowns, downgrades if anything. They don't do anything that bring the experience better from what the Final Reich brought. So they're all just this is a huge downgrade of maps. Honestly, they're just all feel the same. Nothing really great about them. So all D tier, pretty bad maps. So that's unfortunate that I had to say that, but it is It's the truth. They're just downgrades, okay? So, good maps. Let's talk about actual, like, fantastic maps. We have Voyage of Despair. Easy S tier, my third favorite map of all time. I don't care what haters have to say about it. I already know there's going to be someone in the comments saying, you like Voyage of Despair, but Voyage of Despair, hear me out, right? The aesthetic is perfect. The Titanic aesthetic is phenomenal, and they executed it really well. It's a big map, but it has tight corridors. That's one of my favorite playstyles in Zombies. The Easter egg is actually pretty good. The boss fight's phenomenal. So it just does so many things right. Like, I love the aesthetic. I love the Easter egg. I love the wonder weapon. The Kraken is such a great wonder weapon. The side quests here are just like actual stories from the Titanic. Not exactly the same stories, but they tell similar stories and they tell really interesting ones. The cast isn't, all that great, but I think that they work well in this map enough to bring it, to new heights, being an S tier. The whole vibe of the Titanic sinking, the kind of horror aesthetic really works well, and this is a great introduction into the Chaos experience. Now, keep in mind, it's going to be Black Ops 4 maps, so you're going to hear a lot of wanking, but the Voyage of Despair map is just really, really fucking good. Third best map in my opinion, and I really hope that I don't get a lot of shit comments for this because I think Voyage of Despair is a phenomenal map, and I made a video on why I talked about why I love Voyage of Despair. So if you want to hear more thoughts on this, you can hear about it in my video that I made a couple months back talking about why I love Voyage of Despair. So just a phenomenal experience, easy S tier, and the layout is not bad at all. It is really, really good. People who complain about it are also the same people who like Origins, but Origins I think has a worse layout because it's such a big map, but you can't really travel. Whereas this map has a ton of fast traveling spots you can choose from. You can teleport from one half to the other, and of course you have stamina up in your modifier slot now, so you can go even faster. Voyage of Despair is a phenomenal experience. The bosses are great. Maybe a little too much at times, but I don't think it's overwhelming. I don't think it's nearly as overwhelming as Carrier or Infection or any of these maps down here specifically because it does it in moderation. You have specific counters to these bosses, right? You can use the Kraken, you can use your specialist, you can use your equipment. You have counters to take them out. So, Voyage of Despair, S tier, third favorite map of all time. I don't care what anyone says about it. I love it. 9 is actually my second favorite map, so we can put it in S tier as well. 9 is just amazing. I mean, I used to hate this map when it came out. Trust me, I played BO4. I didn't like 9 at launch, but once I actually saw what map I was playing, I loved it. The actual aesthetic is great. The layout is one of the best in Zombies, if not the best in Zombies history, behind only one other map. The layout is great. The only thing that holds it back, right? The Easter egg is great. Anything holding it back is the wonder weapon is shite. The actual wonder weapon is not good, but everything else is phenomenal. The bosses are great. The character dialogues are really pretty funny, honestly. The map layout is great. The pack-a-punch is awesome. Everything about this map is just phenomenal, honestly. There's nothing about this map that I dislike, truly, besides, the number one map that I'm going to put after this. But this map is just everything I would want it to be and more. It nails the Roman aesthetic. The shield is really cool. It does everything pretty much right. There's nothing about this map that sucks for me. Honestly, this and Voyage are great Chaos maps and just great maps in general. They do everything right for Zombies maps and are like pushing the limits of Zombies of where they can go. Takes place on the Titanic. This takes place in the Roman arena. And the only thing that would be even more crazy is if it took place in a Greek society. But that would be a crazy idea for Zombies map. So yeah, those are both like my number one and two respectively, or my number two and three respectively. My number one is coming up soon. We have Blood of the Dead next. Blood of the Dead is a map that a lot of people hate. To me, just to put it out in the open, I think it's okay. It's just a worse layout, really. The biggest problem I have with this map is the layout. It is way too big, but not enough ways to travel around the map, really. Let me talk about it, right? Now that the Golden Gate Bridge is gone, which sucks by the way, the bridge is gone, the Golden Gate Bridge, and the Pack-a-Punch is moving around without any light to show you where it is. You have to constantly run around this map now that the layout's differently. And it sucks because the teleportations are actually across one map to the other. So they take you across from one area to the other. But to get in between areas just feels like a chore because you have to run all the way around to get to certain areas. The Pack-a-Punch moves around with no light in the sky. meaning that you actually have to go find this damn thing, and it takes fucking ages to go find it because, they never bothered to put a teleporter to get to the pack punches besides the one at New Industries. The Easter egg is one of the worst in zombies, not because of the actual, boss fight. The boss fight and the cutscene are some of the best in zombies, but the actual steps to get there are not good. The bird step is just not going to bring people in. The bird step is really tedious, and the fact that it takes multiple runs to complete is very annoying. And on top of that, you have the switch, the bait and switch step. You have the Morse code step, which I actually think is okay. I actually thought that was a fine step. But, one after the other gets really damn annoying. I guess it's the point. It's supposed to be a trial map where you have to do these trials to ascend or whatever. But this map it's one annoyance after the other, really. It should be called Annoyance of the Dead because it just feels like you're doing annoying things one after the other. Now, I will say the Magma Gat is really fun to use, but at the cost of the actual Tomahawk, the Tomahawk of the map, the Hell's Retriever, sucks in this map. It is terrible. It is much worse, and to actually get it, it's much more tedious to upgrade it to the Hell's Redeemer. So it loses a lot of the charm that Mob of the Dead once had, and that's why people don't like it. But that said, it is fun for going for high rounds, and actually killing zombies and stuff is fun. And the character dialogues here are some of the best in zombies, so honestly, I could make a case for this being a B tier map. Maybe it is a B tier map. I think I will put it at the bottom of B tier. It has just enough good things to put it here, but it loses a lot of the charm that Mob of the Dead was had, and that's why a lot of people hate it as much as they do. Personally, I'm indifferent towards it, but I can see a case for it being an actual good map. But at this rate, I think it's just okay. It's at the top of okay. It's just it's hard to argue otherwise when it has so many problems that Mob of the Dead didn't have that Blood of the Dead now has because of the fact that it made a lot of changes and didn't accommodate for those changes. So it goes at the top of C tier. It is not a terrible map, but it is much worse than Mob of the Dead. And on its own, it's a pretty average, above average map. So it's okay, but it is nowhere near as good as it could have been. Classified is a pretty solid map. It's pretty much just a direct upgrade of 5, so I can't really put it all that much higher. I think I'll put it above Buried. I'll put it like right here, I think. Probably like top of B. It is a solid upgrade over 5, though it loses the Pentagon Thief, and of course it brings you to a different part of the Area 51. But Classified is a upgrade over 5, so there's not a whole much to say other than it's a direct upgrade. The teleporters are upgraded. We lose the Pentagon Thief, sadly, and the Winter's Howl is much better here, as long as getting the Ray Gun Mark II. So it is a direct upgrade, but it's not, all that crazy. So it's like, I think I could put it in good tier. I don't think it's a great or a phenomenal map, but it is certainly a good map. So I think it serves the same purpose as the Giant, and maybe a tad worse than Zetsvo in certain ways, but otherwise it's a really solid, good map. Direct upgrade over 5, but nothing too crazy. So yeah, that's all I have to say about it. Classified is a pretty, good map. Nothing too much about it. Dead of the Night is a very good map. This map gets a lot of shit and it doesn't deserve it. This is one of my favorite maps because of the aesthetic. Even though I don't care for vampires personally, just the way they nail the entire vibe is so cool. Silver bullets are such a unique idea to bring double tap without actually being there. The actual Wonder Weapon is one of the best in zombies, Alistair's Folly, that can be upgraded to Alistair's Annihilator. Such a great Wonder Weapon, so much fun. The aesthetic, the colors are beautiful. The cast kind of sucks. I'm gonna be honest. I kind of dragged it down a bit. The cast is really annoying, and the Easter egg can be annoying at times, but otherwise it's pretty fun. Collecting the parts can be fun. It is a bit of a chore, I'll admit, but I think it's worth it when you get to explore the actual map itself because the entire mansion is a beauty to behold. The outside is a beauty to behold, and that's a lot of what this map is. It's just beautiful. Dead of the Night is a beautiful experience that is challenging, so it is harder for most people to play, which I'm okay with because I love harder maps. As you can see by my entire list up here, these are pretty difficult maps here. So I think it's a great fucking map. It's debatably S tier. Are you out of your mind? Okay, so my recording just crashed, so everything past this point literally got crashed off OBS, so you can thank OBS for me having to redo this a third time in a row. But I have everything set here. This is the same tier list, except Ancient Evil is still down here. So, speaking of Ancient Evil, let's go all the way up to S where it belongs because this is my favorite map ever. For most people should know that this is my favorite map, and for good reason. It has a great aesthetic, great wonder weapons, great shield. Everything about this map is perfection, and this is why I think Chaos is one of the best storylines, is because they had consistently great maps. Nine, Voyage, Dead of the Night, and Ancient Evil are all amazing maps. So this is just like the icing on the cake. This is the best Chaos map, and it has everything is just great about it. The bosses are great. Everything is fantastic about it. So easy S tier. It is my favorite map ever, and I feel like it's most people's either in their top favorites or one of their favorites because of how good it is. So Ancient Evil can go straight up to the S tier. It is my number one, and I don't think it's a surprise to anybody because I always preach this map as my favorite. So this is easily an S tier phenomenal map, and it's the best of what Black Ops 4 has to offer. So next in Black Ops 4, we have Alpha Omega, a remake, and I'm actually going to put it in A tier. Now, I know a lot of people don't like this map. I get it. But as a survival map, as a basic map, it's actually really good because it's a really good survival map. I'll be honest, it's easy, it's simple to set up. The ray guns are super fun to use, and I just don't have much to complain about here. Now, of course, I don't like the Easter egg all that much. I don't think it's that great an Easter egg. And but that said, I think Alpha Omega is a solid A tier. I think it does pretty much everything right. The only things that it doesn't is that it's not really mind-changing. It is a remake after all. But overall, I think Alpha Omega is a great map. It's a super classic map for me, even despite the Nova Crawlers and the Pack-a-Punch problem, which I will talk about because the Pack-a-Punch problem seems to be something that a lot of people talk about. But I never encounter it specifically because I tend to Pack-a-Punch pretty early on. The only issues that start happening are in the later rounds when the pack punch needs to be reactivated, and I could totally understand why it's annoying. But I'll be honest, I never need a pack punch that past that point. I feel like it's a skill issue if you need a pack punch past the 20s or if you just don't want to go turn it on because it's never an issue. I feel like it's a pretty minor thing, though it's obviously, an annoyance to some, which I can totally understand. But to me, I feel like it was never a big deal. And I also just really like the aesthetic of the map, the cul-de-sac, the Nuketown remake. This is something I always wanted. It does Nuketown justice by being a actual expanded version of Nuketown. So this is Nuketown that we should have gotten. I think it's an A-tier classic survival map. But you'll probably disagree with me because most people don't like this map, unfortunately. But I am a huge fan of Alpha Omega. Easy A tier. So next we have the finale tagged or token, and it's going to go basically right next to Call of the Dead, because on one hand it does the remake really well. The layout of tagged or token is far better than Call of the Dead, and does Call of the Dead really justice by, honoring George Romero's memory, as he is no longer a boss in this map, which I can understand as well, and is replaced with actually no bosses. This map has no bosses in this map, besides, the electric zombies and the explosive zombie. There is no actual bosses in this map, which I can understand as well. It is a tribute, it's a pretty much a payoff to every zombies map, so I can totally understand it being more bare bones, which some people might not like. I can totally understand. But it's a very beautiful map. It's a great send off to zombies, I feel, even if it's not as climactic as we'd like it to be, or if it's not as crazy as Ancient Evil or Shadows of Evil, where there's actually like bosses everywhere. This is more of a peace like send off map, and I really, really love it for that reason. It is a beautiful map, and any problems I do have with it are pretty minor. The crew I absolutely despise, but that's just me. I don't like Victus. Some people do, some people don't. I don't like Victus at all. But their dialogue is pretty good here, and their relationship with Richthofen is nice. Nikolai makes a cameo, which can be appreciated. So Taggertone as a finale map, I think is great because it's just a great send-off and is great by being a peaceful map. So I think it's an A tier map. It's a great map. Okay, now heading into Cold War, we have D Machina, and D Machina is like a good map. I think it's right behind Classified in my opinion. It's a great way to start off the season by showing us what Cold War can do, by giving it the freedom mechanics, by being able to just move as fast as you want, climb over whatever you want. It's a great way to show that off, and it remakes Noct for the a billionth time, but does it really well here. I think really the only problems with it are that the armor station only has one location. The map isn't all that special, and the Dark Ether is a limited mode. I wish if it was a permanent mode, I might have put it in A tier, but unfortunately the Dark Ether you can only be in for a certain amount of time. And also the Easter egg ending is actually pathetic. The Easter egg on this map is pathetic. You really just exfil for the cutscene. That's it. That's all you do is an exfil. Like, are you serious? Even Alpha Omega and Tiger Toten, without full-fledged cutscenes, still had actual cutscenes. But the Machina is literally just you exfil, and that's it. That's actually the most pathetic ending of any zombies map because it has no ending. You literally just leave. Now the explosion in the distance is cool or whatever, but that's really pathetic ending. And the Easter egg is also just way too easy as well. It's a really easy map, but I think as a map it does it well. It shows off what Cold War can do. So it's a solid B tier. It doesn't do anything special, but it's not bad at all. I actually think it's a good map, and I go and play it every once in a while. So B tier is where it goes. Firebase Z has recently been getting some heat, and I'm going to tell you all, no, it is not a bad map. It's actually a really good map, and here's why. So, firstly, the layout is really good. It has a similar layout to that of Doris, where you have three things you have to turn on for Pack-a-Punch, and the areas are big. Like, they're really, really big. You have huge areas you can train around. The defense areas are really cool. They do get a bit annoying in the later rounds when you have to keep doing it over and over, but fortunately, it's not a requirement. You can let these things go and just turn it back on. It's literally the easiest thing in the world. I don't get why people complain about that and not about the manglers, because the manglers are a huge problem. This is a huge problem with Cold War in general. The manglers are bad, and even in future installments, manglers are a terrible boss, and are one of the biggest things that holds this map back is the mangler. The Easter egg also isn't great. I do kind of like the ending, but the actual Easter egg itself is not fun. It's like the machine a little lazy, and also just makes no sense whatsoever because Weaver trusts Peck for no reason. Why would he trust Peck? Somebody explain that to me. Why would he trust Peck? he he's an idiot, whatever. But Firebase Sea is a very good map. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. So it's at the top of B tier. I actually really like it. It's a huge sequel to D Machina, while also bringing back some familiar faces. It also brings the Mimic for the first time, which I really like. I think the Mimics are a really cool idea. So I'm glad to see that in this map. So Firebase Sea is a solid B. I think it's a really good map, and I think it gets a lot of flack for really no reason at all, other than some minor nitpicks here and there, and of course the terrible Easter egg ending, and the Easter egg boss rather is terrible. But other than that, solid B, great map. Next, we have actually one of the best maps ever is Mauer der Toten. Mauer der Toten is debatably one of my favorite maps ever. I keep debating this because Mauer has a great atmosphere, great music, great art direction, a solid boss. I don't really like the Disciple as much anymore because of Modern Warfare 3, but disregarding Modern Warfare 3, I think Mauer der Toten is a really good map. It takes advantage of Cold War to the extreme. This is the quality we should be getting in BO6 is Mauer der Toten level maps where the atmosphere is just amazing. The music's so well done. The map design is incredible. The Berlin Wall as a setting is such a good idea, such an obvious idea for a Cold War game. And having that here as a zombies map was such a great idea. So it really sets itself up as a A-tier map. I think it's really, really good, and I hope Treyarch can see this and just say, we need to make more Mauer Towens, because Mauer Towen is an excellent, excellent map, and easily deserves an A-tier spot. Now, unfortunately, we forgot about a little someone here. I actually forgot this was in the list. Outbreak is awful, genuinely terrible. I would rather play anything above this. Outbreak is genuinely awful. Now, I'm not going to go too much into it because I know there's somehow Outbreak fans, but it's genuinely terrible. Like, Outbreak is a terrible mode. Now, I think it's done better in the future, but the original version that came out back in 2021 is really not good. So, F tier is where it belongs. Just, I can't stand the idea of these objective maps having nothing in the map itself to actually do besides the objective. So, this can go in F tier and can't really change my mind. Forsaken is not good at all. I actually originally had this in F tier, but I'm gonna actually put it in D because it's not that bad per se. It's just really lazy. So coming off Mauer Toten, this map is just really, really lazy. It doesn't do a whole lot to really change up zombies. Not that this did either, but Forsaken is just a lazy copy paste, literally from the campaign, but worse because the campaign connected all the areas without teleporters. This required teleporters. It just it did it way worse in my opinion. I think it could have been done a lot better had they had more time to work on it because of course they had to make Vanguard right after. So I completely understand why Forsaken came out the way it did. but it's still a really lazy map, and I really don't care to play it again, especially with the Easter egg being as bad as it was. Now, the Wonder Weapon is really fun to use, don't get me wrong. The music is also pretty unique, but the oversaturation of enemies, there's just way too many enemies here, and the fact that there's almost nothing new at all here is ridiculous. You can see it's similar to Revelations, but Revelations, I think, had more fun, it had more flair, whereas this doesn't. So, this is going to be a D tier map. Forsaken is just not it. It's a huge disappointment coming off Naruto, and so it's going to be top of D tier. It's just not a good map. And it could have been done a lot better had they been given time, or if they just, I don't know, just went somewhere else besides literally ripping off the campaign again, but actually making it a worse layout. So following up Forsaken, we have Shinonuma from Vanguard. Now I know this is kind of out of order, but at this point we already finished, and I don't feel like doing this for the fourth time in a row because OBS will crash again. So Shinonuma Vanguard is, it's okay. It's better than the version from World at War, so I will give it that. And it does work well with the Vanguard systems using the Modern Warfare engine. So I think it's actually a pretty okay map, all things considered. I don't know if I feel comfortable putting it above Gorod because I know people are going to cry that Gorod's below Shinonuma Vanguard. But honestly, Shinonuma Vanguard isn't that bad, even though it still has a bunch of latency problems that still aren't fixed. And the story I couldn't care less about, you know, all the typical Vanguard problems. But all things considered, Shinonuma Vanguard, not bad map, not bad at all. I think it's actually okay. So C tier is where it goes. It's not a terrible, terrible map. If anything, it's the best version of Shinonuma, I will say that, and it works well with Vanguard systems, but otherwise, it's just a pretty average experience compared to anything above it, especially, you know, Firebase or Zombies in Spaceland. It's just pretty average, all things considered. So I'm going to put Shinonuma Vanguard in okay, because it's not a bad map. It really isn't. I think it's actually a pretty solid one, and yeah, it's not a terrible map at all. I think Shinonuma Vanguard is a C tier map. It's okay. Next we have Duran Fong. We already know where this goes, although I will say it's at the top of F tier because I can find some enjoyment in it, but it's really not it's really not good. I don't know what else to say. That's the biggest thing with this map. I don't know what to do with it. It's forgettable. It's literally stitched up from multiplayer. It's literally just a stitch up of multiplayer maps, which isn't bad because you know Vanguard had an actually pretty good multiplayer, all things considered. But you know, this is just really lazy. Even compared to Forsaken, this is really lazy. You know, it has no originality whatsoever, and it didn't even have half the features at launch. It had to patch in Pack-a-Punch camos. Like, how do you do that, man? Yeah, F tier is where it goes, just on principle alone. So, yeah, fuck Fong. And fuck Terra Maledicta. This can go straight into the F tier as well. This is actually worse. I would actually argue it's worse than Transit because this is literally, I kid you not, it is just Egypt with the same objectives as Fong. It does nothing new. It is lazy. It's not innovative. It is actually lazier than Fong. I can't believe it. It's actually lazier. And to add on, I'll also put on the Archon in the same place because it's the same map. These two are literally the same. This has a green filter. It has a green filter. It is legitimately the same map with a green filter and it's round based. That's it. Now, the Wonder Weapon is kind of cool, the Shield Wonder Weapon, but that's all it has going for it. It is legitimately the same map. They sold it to you the same way. Now, obviously, they're free maps. You know, you can't really complain when it's free, but I actually can complain because, you know, Vanguard is $70 and you get legitimately the same map. There's no difference. There's legitimately no difference. I don't know what else to say other than Terra Maledicta and the Archon are legitimately worse than Transit because at least Transit tried. It tried something different. But these two are the same map with a green filter and and an Easter egg. That's it. And the Easter egg isn't like the worst thing in the world, but that's all it has going for it. That's it. That's literally it. I would rather play Transit. I would rather play Bus Depot. I would rather play, you know, Shaolin Shuffle. I'd rather play anything else. This is pure laziness. It has no effort, no love, no care. It is it is legitimately one of the worst maps ever. And if not for Infection, it probably would be the worst map ever because Infection is actually the worst thing ever created. But that's the entire tier list. I'm going to try to go before OBS crashes. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. I could always use a new addition to the Dark Ops army. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so if you could subscribe, that would be great. But I'll see you guys in the next one. This is Dark Ops signing off.